Welcome back to Update On. We're continuing to talk about the elements of a healthy lifestyle. That is all the things that you need to do so that you maximize your pleasure and enjoyment from living. And Azar has brought a very special guest.
Yes, I met Rhonda at the gym, and sometimes we used to work together. And I really liked her idea of taking care of yourself. So I asked her if she would join us today.
And
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Now, we pre-met, and I am just as impressed by Rhonda as Azar is. Lifetime fitness for all of us, what we should do every day. And you're a personal trainer. Mm-hmm. People come to you, why?
Well, various reasons: to get help with setting up an exercise program, to help them reach their goals, to get healthier, and to feel better.
And that is all commendable, and it's a shame we don't come with our personal owner's manual. And therefore we need help. Right. And people jump into exercise programs because they're going to make the world better, and then as soon as they feel a little better, they stop.
Well, and the motivation that you have initially, you're all gung-ho, and then injuries happen, priorities change, you don't get the results as fast as you want to, and it's very difficult to sustain that commitment.
You mentioned injuries. Is there any way you can let us know how to prevent injury when we do exercises, like how to protect our neck or shoulders or back and all these, different areas of the body that it needs to be protected mm-hmm. while we are doing exercises? Because I remember when I first started, I didn't know. I saw people jumping up and do this and, do the other type of movement, and I keep doing it, and I really injured myself. Mm-hmm. And that's why, is there any way you can let us know how to do it?
Well, there has to be a proper progression, and we have to be able to move our body weight first. And if you can't get up and down off the floor, off of a seat, if you can't walk for a distance, whatever your normal walking distance is in your life and how your lifestyle works, if you can't do your daily activities without discomfort, then you don't want to, first of all, add any weight or resistance to that. And you want to figure out, either through a trainer or through a doctor, of how, or a physical therapist or an occupational therapist, how best to be able to move our body in our daily activities before then we add resistance to that.
So we go back to short walks multiple times every day mm-hmm. can build mm-hmm. you back up. And certain things that we do during the course of our daily activities. For instance, when we go to the grocery store, instead of parking waiting for a parking spot at the very front of the door, park a little bit further away. Carry your groceries one bag at a time from the cart that you left at the door to your car and back and forth. Taking the stairs instead of taking the elevator. If you work at a desk during the course of the day, a lot of people come to the gym after they've been 8 hours at a desk, and they have a lot of stress built up in their neck. And then they take weights, and they'll go up over the head with the weight while they're still in this forward posture. And posture is very important to make sure that you're doing your exercises with proper posture. So there are little things that we can do throughout the course of the day. What is proper posture?
Okay,
it's not model posture, because when I was taught to walk a runway, nobody would believe that I used to do that. You were taught to lean backwards, thrust your hip forwards, and walk at an angle. And I know that's bad.
Well, proper posture is a natural curve of the spine. And so if Azar would like to stand up, I'll show you. We all have a natural curve at the neck, and then our shoulder blades sit on our back ribs, and a natural curve before the lumbar, and then the tailbone comes up. So when we are sitting at a desk all day long, our head then becomes in this forward lean, and our shoulder blades then come away from the spine, and we tighten this area in the front.
Dowager's hump.
Exactly. And so to bring that back up, you want to pretend like you have a book. This is the easiest way to do, on the crown of the head. And then that is going to naturally drop the shoulders down and then extend up through. So press the book up gently, subtly toward the ceiling, and that will decompress the spine. So that's where you want to start in creating that natural curve.
And the neck is coming into proper alignment, and that's the big thing when people get hurt.
And coming from that stressed, forward, leaning position with the head, because the neck muscles, and when we chest breathe, we also use the neck muscles to breathe instead of the diaphragm, which is supposed to be bringing the breath into the body. And our natural inclination, when we get that stress from sitting at a desk, is to then pull it more. And so it brings a little bit of relief because it then stretches those muscles. But the muscles are already stressed under tension, keeping the head from hitting the desk. And really all the neck muscles are supposed to do is keep the head seated between the collarbone and the spine of the scapula. So now you're using them to breathe during the course of the day. You're also using them to keep the head from falling forward. And they get very stretched and weak, and they get weaker and weaker. So it's very important to teach the body to allow the head to sit where it should between the shoulders.
You talked about breathing. Can you teach us how to breathe properly? Because when I do the exercises, I run out of breath. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to you the other day, and you said because you chest breathe, not belly breathe.
Belly breathe, yeah.
Right. And I need to learn that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, place the book on the crown of the head, mm-hmm. and that extends the spine. Relax the shoulders. And when you inhale, you want to inhale all the way down into your belly. So you bring the air in through the nose. And when you do that, now you notice you just did it from the chest because your shoulders went like this, right? So when you breathe, I want you to follow the breath down and let your belly expand. That's the diaphragm.
And everybody wants a small waist.
Right, exactly. And it's very difficult to belly breathe when you're holding your stomach in as tight as you can.
Mm-hmm. And you're wearing Spanx to help you.
Exactly. And it can't. So the diaphragm then, it's a muscle. It looks like a dome. And when you inhale, it presses down. It also, at that point, is now massaging your digestive system and your internal organs. And there's a lot more that is involved in that. So breathing is definitely something that people should learn how to do. Just a few minutes out of every day. And it's very calming for the body to do
It's
that.
like an exercise for your inner organs.
Absolutely.
But when right now I understood how to do it. Mm-hmm. But I think if I'm doing this sit-up or push-up, it would be hard to do because you have to hold your stomach in order to protect your back. Mm-hmm. So it would make it harder to do that.
Yes, and when we inhale, mm-hmm. we are creating the natural way mm-hmm. that the body inhales is to create an extension in the back. So when we inhale, the front body expands, the shoulder blades will sit. Then when we exhale, you get a little bit of flexion in the spine. So for years we were taught when you're working your abdominals, right, that you should press and imprint that spine against the floor. And that creates too much flexion in the back, and a lot of people got hurt that way. So what you need to have that little bit of natural curve in the thoracic spine. You're seated, and the weight is in the hips and the shoulders. And then when you contract your core, your abdominal muscles, both the front and the back of the spine, learn how to create that stability in the spine so that it works the front and the back body work in unison with each other, and that's very important for the spine
think
to
we
learn
have-
how to do that.
I think we have to have another program for
I
that.
think
It's not going to be
I
done
think
with
it's
one.
like me learning something. Azar is the one that knows how to do it, and I'm the one that does it. Okay, Marcia, you really aren't doing that right.
Well, we can practice. Everything, becomes,
Well,
second nature by practice. First, when you start, it's awkward. Like anything in life. When you start in the beginning, it's awkward and you don't feel right because it goes against what you have learned before. But little by little, it becomes your second nature.
And as we said at the very beginning, you don't jump into Iron Man before you've crawled.
The stability is very important, and when we're talking about injury and you're talking about learned movement, our movement patterns change over the years, and sometimes they become movement patterns that aren't optimum to then add resistance on. And you were discussing knees
Right.
as well, and most
Yes,
people
we all
heard
have
the
bad knees.
most people heard the common cue of don't let your knee go in front of the toes when you go down into a squat. Well, if you have proper mobility at the ankle, the knee, and the hip, and the thoracic spine to go into extension, the knees are naturally going to fall over. The cue came because a lot of people went into the group exercise classes. And when you go into the group exercise classes, there's not a trainer that can just look at one person and say, okay, they're responsible for the whole group. So you just cue everybody, and most people then will fall into that, probably won't get hurt if you do this.
Do you want to show me how to do it?
Sure, absolutely. So if you have a proper mobility in the ankle and the knee and the hip, right? When you sit down and you keep your weight a little bit back into the heel so that your butt muscles turn on, you should feel no discomfort now because your
No.
knees are coming forward in line with your shoelaces, right? Your weight is in your heel, and then you stand up.
I like this, turning muscles on and off.
Yes. Well, that's exactly what it is. So go ahead.
But at that point, where should my stomach to be? My hip should be back, and
Your center of gravity lies approximately between the belly button and the spine. So somewhere in
Okay.
the center there, that's your center of gravity. And the body, when you are moving or standing on your feet, the body wants to shift the center of gravity between your base of support, which would be your 2 feet. So if you are, stand up, if you're going to go to sit down, if you lean too far back, you're going to fall backwards.
Right.
Too far forward, you're going to hinge this way.
Exactly.
And now all of the work is happening in your lower back,
exactly,
right?
I can feel it.
So you want to stay between your base of support, which is right down there with your body. And then you come up, and there should be no pain in your knees.
No, I could feel the whole area.
I could hear it.
holding,
I can hear it.
Good.
holding my weight.
Yes, but
And
shifted
exactly,
over
in
between
the
feet.
other one, I would feel my back is holding my whole body.
It's like the granddaughter, the twin that is almost 2 years old. She'll get up the way you're saying.
On the floor.
And then she ends up on purpose on her well-diapered bottom and giggles because she's learning how to do it. It's part of the muscles training themselves.
And the muscles communicating with the central nervous system. So the brain there's a communication that goes along with the body, back to the brain and back and forth, and it happens so quickly that, of course, we don't really pay any attention to it. And that's how we learn.
But watching little kids, you can see exactly how we learn.
Because they do it naturally.
Right.
They do it naturally. We learn to adjust ourselves to our daily life that we have, and then that adjustment, it hurts us in the long run.
And when you watch a child learn how to stand to get up off the floor, their knees are way over the front of their toes, and they're down right in the middle between their 2 feet. And they learn to stand from that. So
a little child needs to lead us. We need to not correct them, but watch them.
And the industry is actually going back to our learned behavior. Initially, when we were first learning how to function, on 2 feet.
Well, a lot of this has to do particularly with women with fashion, because
And high
if
heels.
you look at Victorian women with the very tight
Corsets.
the corsets
gosh.
and the little the skirts that were pegged in before you got to the Gibson girl look, and these little teeny mincy steps that people still think are, shall we say, refined.
Refined, yeah. Well, but think also too about the women who in Africa carry the huge weights, 50 pounds of luggage on their head while they have a baby on their back, right? And they walk for miles and miles as part of their lifestyle. That pressure coming down, because you've always got gravity that we're fighting up against, right? And that added resistance on the crown of their head, their spines and their core are very strong to be able to do that. And that is a learned strength.
Right, and it's their lifestyle. Now, our lifestyle, as we go more and more to sitting behind the desk, and I call it worshiping the almighty computer, that we get hunched over, we don't take in as much information, we're not watching the people around us or ourselves.
Right, exactly. And we lose touch. When certain parts of muscles become inactive, they lose that communication line with the brain. So even though I'll cue a client to squeeze your butt muscles to stand up, some of those butt muscles are not turning on, but the brain doesn't know they're not turning on, and they have to relearn how to do that. The knees have a lot of muscles that go from the thigh to the calf, and then from the calf to the thigh. So aside from ligaments and connective tissue in the bones in the knee, it's really influenced by what the lower and the upper leg are doing. And if there is a mobility issue in the ankle or in the hip, it's going to present a lot of times in the knee. So if the person has knee problems and they've gone to the doctor and the doctor's looked over everything and there's really nothing wrong, then we would look to how the foot is working and how the hip is working. And a lot of times we can find imbalances there and be able to help that person correct those and decrease the knee pain.
Okay, I'm going to ask you something that's not on our...
Okay.
But it's a lifestyle problem.
All righty.
Both of you are wearing athletic shoes. I'm actually wearing sensible little old lady sneakers. What about heels? I know at least one young woman who got out of her car and she broke both of her ankles. And her mother said, somebody said, she was in her nightclub shoes. And she said, no, she was only wearing 4-inch heels. She wears 6-inch heels to the nightclub.
Okay, so in reference to heels, it does distort the natural moving pattern of the body. Our gait, we connect to the floor as we take a step with our heel. The foot actually rotates, and then when we come up onto the ball of the foot, it creates rigidity in that plantar flexed position, and we push off the floor and we move. When you're in heels, that can't happen that way. So our whole gait pattern is distorted and becomes abnormal. It will then you're going to lose the dorsiflexion in the ankle. You're going to hyperextend the back because the hips are going to tip, right? And then that influences all the way up the chain, all the way to the base of the head. So, we all like the heels because of how nice it makes our calves look as they contract to keep us up there. But you do distort the natural gait pattern, and it's going to influence how the body moves all the way up the line.
I have one question about walking in general. She knows I used to go to modeling school when I was younger, And they used to tell us, walk with your toes first, not to put your heels down first.
Why?
Makes
That's
the
the way
leg look longer.
models walk.
Yeah, it makes the leg look longer.
Gliding
It gives you a
more
nice
than-
long line. The modeling is not for you to look good; it's for what you're wearing to look good. People don't understand that.
You don't sell yourself, you sell what you have on, basically, and you have to attract attention to what you have on instead of what you do. So that makes you look better.
Okay.
And then, but when I walk and it feels natural to me, I walk with my heels coming down first. Which one is a general correct way of doing it?
Well,
None
again,
of them.
Go back to if you ever see a new walking child, they're not going to put their, although some of them do actually walk
They
on the
work
balls
on
of their-
Yeah.
tippy toes.
But the natural gait pattern is heel, rotate, press off. So in that movement, our body in a gait moves in all rotation. So that influences everything that goes up to the lower leg, to the upper leg, into the back, the thoracic spine as we walk. When the left leg goes forward, the right arm, the right shoulder naturally comes forward. And so we walk in rotation. And the natural gait pattern is to come down, heel, and then plantar flex up.
So
And
you
also-
can walk longer. Would you
Right.
two believe we probably have about 3 minutes?
Oh, okay.
I'm very
Almost.
sorry.
One quick thing.
Okay.
I have seen people when they walk, they drag their shoes along with them. And I think that is not a right way to do it also, because you have to pick up, the way you're saying it, you have to pick up your foot instead of dragging it. Because that would put a lot of, because once I tried to do it, I always naturally would put my heels down first. But I tried to drag my foot. I thought it's more comfortable. I said, oh my God, my back hurts.
We could probably do a whole show on
Yes.
gait pattern, but
Right.
the body will do certain things in order to create stability. If you go and step on a sheet of ice, you immediately everything freezes up because the body
Wants to hold
Danger,
it.
has to
danger.
react. Right,
Right.
exactly, and is it's its attempt to create stability for you so that you don't get hurt. And so when we shorten our gait, when we drag our feet, it's less time that our body has to balance, because when we walk, it's balance one foot, balance one foot,
Exactly.
balance one foot. So the less time we have with one foot up off the ground, the more stable our body is going to think we are. So
But
we
this
create,
is not actually good for us.
No, it's an old man shuffle. My husband was
Shuffling, yes.
just told at the physical therapist that he looked like he was 85 because the way he was walking, he was in such pain. Now he looks more like his age at 65.
Oh.
So, but it is a big thing. How you can tell how you're miswalking looking at the wear pattern on your tennis runners.
You can, and also when it snows and you watch your feet. I'm always curious as I go back, because I walk my dog in the morning, as I'm coming back to see how my gait pattern looked
Right.
coming. So
We have
very interesting. It's
precisely 2 minutes.
Okay.
So we need to,
wrap up, basically.
yes.
Okay.
So if you would give Rhonda.
What is the but we're gonna have Rhonda to come back,
Right,
for
and-
more
and the-
information.
and-
We just touched up today on
Yes, it was an
things.
intro to a healthy life movement.
yes, thank you.
That I could not have made up that term. What is the lesson for the day, Rhonda? One thing.
When you are moving, there are certain movement patterns that you need to be able to move your body to live an active daily life. Just from and we need to do that.
And we need to hydrate and drink lots of water, which
Yes.
people don't do. Rhonda was surprised that we have our water flavored with pieces of apple, so it will taste wonderful.
Okay, to our health and everybody's health.
And to everybody's health. And
Oops,
we
you
and in
lost your apple.
closing, we wish every nation everywhere peace.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.